welcome to my first ever venture onto YouTube. We're going to be doing a 3-part mat session. Each session will be around about 15-20 minutes to make it up to about an hour's length. We're going to be using the overball for the exercises. However, if you don't have an overball, don't worry about it at all. You can do all of the exercises without it. The advantage of the overball is that it just adds a little bit of extra challenge to your connections. So sometimes we'll be connecting onto the ball using particular muscle groups. Other times we'll be balancing on the ball, in which case we're learning to stabilize deeper into our core muscles. So that's why I tend to use the ball for this particular lesson plan. But as I say, if you don't have a ball, just do it without. What you'll need is your mat and head cushions, or if you don't have a head cushion, just grab a hand towel, bath towel, swimming towel, and just fold it to an appropriate height to support your head. What you want to aim for when you're lying on your back is that your head, your neck, your spine are in a lovely straight line with one another to encourage good alignment. So let's come down onto the mat. You're going to have your knees bent. Just check that you have sufficient room behind you to take your arms back, and that you have sufficient room in front of you to extend your legs forwards. And then let's start off with our neutral pelvis and spine. So think about, first of all, that weight through the chest. So feeling the upper body nicely connected into the mat. The rib cage just softening down towards the floor. The pelvis is in a neutral position as well. So if we think about the hips and the pubic bone level with one another, parallel to the mat, more or less. And what we want to feel is that we have the natural curve in the place for the lower back. So what you're not deliberately doing is pushing your spine into the mat or pulling the spine away from the floor. You just want to feel that there's maybe just a sense of space, a sense of air being able to flow underneath your lower back. Of course, we're all different shapes and sizes, so it's finding what works for your body. We're going to then start off, or also just checking the legs. So the feet are just hip width apart and parallel. So the knees line up with your hip sockets, the heels line up with your sit bones. And then if you are using the ball, we're going to lift your bottom off the mat and pop the ball underneath the bottom. We're going to start off with an exercise called pelvic clocks, and this is a really lovely exercise to mobilize the pelvis and the lower back, and also just to release around the hips a little bit. And if you imagine that your pelvis is a clock face, so your belly button is north on the clock, is 12 o'clock, sorry. Your pubic bone is 6 o'clock, and then the hips are 3 and 9 o'clock. And you can either rest your hands on the pelvis to give you some feedback in terms of where you're moving the pelvis, or you can keep your arms to your sides. If you don't have the ball, just imagine there's a pound coin underneath your tailbone and you're just rolling around that little surface of the pound coin. So we're going to start off with a little tilt to 12 o'clock. So the pelvis tilts towards the face, the pubic bone is higher than the hips, you'll feel your lower back soften towards the floor. Then you'll rotate to 3 o'clock. Go down to 6 o'clock, feeling the lower back arch a little bit, come around to 9, and then back to 12 o'clock. And we're going to continue to roll around the surface of the ball or around the surface of the pound coin, just in the same direction. Breathing as you wish, so no particular pattern, but making sure you don't hold the breath. Also think about the legs in this position. So the knees should be staying relatively still. They're not swinging from side to side as your pelvis rotates from side to side. And we'll do one last one in this direction. When you come back to 12 o'clock, the pubic bone again higher than the hips, we're going to go the other way around the clock face. And just again feeling how the pelvis rolls on top of that ball, how the lower back reacts to that movement of the pelvis. So we'll come from flexion into rotation, into extension, into rotation, and back to flexion. Really nice movement for the lower back. We'll do 2 last little circles around the clock face. And when you've finished your last set, bring your pelvis to a neutral position again, as close to neutral as you can find in the starting position. Just check the ball hasn't moved from underneath you, so also especially check it hasn't come under the lower back, so it's just under your bottom, under the tailbone. And we're going to take this now into a single knee fold exercise, adding on a little 12 o'clock tilt. So we're going to keep the arms lengthening to the sides, nice weight into the chest. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, the leg floats into a knee fold. Then we're going to tilt the pelvis towards your face. Feel as though you're trying to roll the ball slightly forwards. Your lower back will soften towards the mat. Release the pelvis to neutral. Rest your foot back into the floor. Then alternate legs. Left leg floats up. The pelvis tilts towards your face. Release the pelvis to neutral. Rest the foot back to the floor. So we breathe out as the leg comes up. Breathe into balance or stabilize. Breathe out, tilt the pelvis, pushing through the tailbone. Breathe in to release and breathe out to rest the foot. And again, we are feeling a really nice sense of length through the lower back, lovely mobility into the bottom of the spine. And also you might feel, as you tilt the pelvis to that 12 o'clock position, the front of the other hip opens a little bit. You're getting a little bit of hip extension in this position. We're going to finish with the left leg floating up, that last tilt to 12, release to neutral, rest the foot back into the mat, and then again just adjust your feet or leg position and adjust the ball if you need to. So next is our double knee fold exercise, and for this one we want to really use the breath to help us to stabilize and to balance on top of the ball if you're using the ball. To challenge your stability even further, you can change where your arms rest or position themselves. So I'll talk you through that as we go. So arms are on the mat to begin with. We're going to take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, float the right leg into a knee fold. Still breathing out, the left comes up. Breathe in there. Breathe out, lower the right foot. Still breathing out, lower the left. Then lead with the left leg. As you're breathing out, the right leg follows. Breathe in there. Breathe out, lower the left. Still breathing out, lower the right. Now to challenge your stability, if you're using the ball, you're going to maybe hover your arms just off the mat. Long straight arms, elbows and hands away from the floor. If you want more challenge, you can bring the arms across the chest. And this way your arms are nowhere near the mat, so if you do lose your stability, you're going to have a little bit further to fall. The real challenge is to bring the arms above the chest and see if you can keep that weight into the upper back, keep that balance, that stability on the ball. Obviously if you don't have the ball, you're not challenging your stability as such, so you could keep your arms into the mat throughout, but you can add them in if you want a little bit of something else to do with your arms. So we're going to finish this last set now. Finish with your left leg leading the movement. And when you've evened up through both sides, you could rest your arms to the mat. If you want to have a little hug of the knees to the chest to release the lower back, you can do that. Otherwise, you could stretch your legs out. From here we're going to come into our single leg stretch prep exercise. And with the ball, it just gives us a little bit more height of the pelvis lifted off the mat to find a deeper hip extension. So we're going to start off with your right leg coming into a knee fold. Hold on to the top of your right knee. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, slide your left foot all the way out along the floor until the leg is straight. And then breathe in, gently pull the right leg towards you. Breathe out, slide the left leg back up. Try to keep your balance as you swap arms and hold on to the left leg. Breathe out, lower the right foot, slide the leg away. Breathe in, pull the knee towards your chest. Breathe out, connect the tummy, slide the leg back in. And so we continue to alternate the legs. One leg extends away, the front of that hip opens. The other leg we deepen the hip flexion, so getting a nice crease in the front of the hip and a little stretch for the bottom. all the meanwhile, you are trying to keep your balance on the ball. So think of lovely wide elbows, width across the back of the shoulders. Feel that weight into the tailbone. Good. We're going to do 2 last ones to finish. So if you started off holding the right knee towards the chest, we finish with the left knee to the chest, the right leg stretching down the mat. You'll end in a double knee fold position, and then one at a time let the feet come and rest to the mat, arms return to your sides. So we're going to come off the ball now, a little lift of your bum away from the mat, take the ball away, and just let your spine softly return back into the mat. Maybe feeling a sense of length, much more space behind you. Then let's pop the ball, if you're using it, between your inner thighs. If you don't have a ball, what you could use is another towel or maybe a little pillow or cushion, and just pop it between your inner thighs. This will just give you something to squeeze onto. And we're going to start with our pillow squeeze exercise next. So again, make sure the pelvis is in a neutral position. Think of that lovely space behind the lower back. Little curve in place behind the neck, so just checking the head cushion isn't under your shoulders or under the neck, it's just behind the head. Arms can rest to the sides again, and this exercise is really simple. All you do is squeeze the ball with your legs and then release the squeeze. Breathe out as you squeeze, breathe in as you release. And what you'll notice as your inner thighs squeeze onto the ball is a little bit of toning deeper into the pelvic floor muscles of the pelvis. So it's a really nice way to strengthen and tone those muscles. I'm going to do just 2 more of these because this is our preparation for the next exercise, our spine curls with a pillow squeeze. Now, those of you who I've advised not to sequentially curl your spine away from the mat, you'll do a bridge instead, so a shoulder bridge. So what you'll do is you'll keep your pelvis nice and flat, you'll keep your spine nice and long, and just simply lift your bottom straight up off the mat, and then bring your bottom straight back down into the mat. So you breathe out as you go up, breathing in at the top, breathing out as you go down. Those of us who are able to curl through the spine, and all of us are going to be squeezing the ball at the same time, we're going to start to squeeze the ball with your inner thighs, tilt the pelvis towards your face, feel the lower back soften into the mat, lift your bum, and bone by bone sequentially peel your spine away from the mat. You're keeping weight into the chest, so don't lift up onto the shoulders. Take a breath in there, and then breathe out, roll back down, bone by bone by bone through the spine. Let the tailbone, the pelvis release to neutral, and then let the legs relax. So you're going to hold that pillow squeeze for the duration of the exercise. So it's a breath in to prepare. Breathe out, squeeze the ball, tilt the pelvis, lift your bum, lift your spine, bone by bone coming up. Breath in there, and breathing out to roll back down. I'm going to do 2 more, just with the arms nice and relaxed to your sides. And then we'll add in a little arm raise, just to get a little bit more length through the body. So make this your last one, squeezing the ball, lifting the hips, and then softening back down again. So now the next time you come into your bridge or your spine curl, you're going to hold that position. Keep that weight into the chest. Lift your arms to the ceiling and take them back just on either side of your face. Try not to touch the floor behind you. Then gently roll back down through the spine, bone by bone by bone. Remember, you're still squeezing the ball throughout this exercise. And then you release your arms to your sides to finish. So it's a breath in. Breathe out, squeeze the ball, tilt the pelvis, lift your bum, lift your spine. Breathe in there. Arms come up and back. And now breathe out, soften down through the chest. Feel the spine lengthen back into the floor, your bottom getting closer to your heels, and then breathe in, let the arms return to your sides. I'm going to do just 1 more of those. Breathing out as you come up. Breath in, arms come up and back. Breath out, releasing down through the spine. And breath in to release. So let's take the ball away just for a moment. Have a little stretch out through the legs if you need to. Sometimes the hamstrings over-dominate in that exercise, but hopefully with the use of the ball, you might have noticed that the hamstrings supported the inner thighs supported the hamstrings and the glutes. So those three muscle groups worked really nicely together to support one another. What we're going to do next is pop the ball between your knees. And we're going to bring your feet together. Open your arms a little bit out to your sides, the palms turned up to the ceiling. And we're going to come into a hip roll with a leg reach. So we're going to gently squeeze the ball with the knees, tip your pelvis over to the right. Keep that left shoulder as heavy as you can. Now, when you're ready, you're going to extend your left leg, so stretch it all the way out, keep squeezing the ball between your knees, and now come back to the center, keeping that leg long and straight. Then bend the left leg, reconnect your feet. Tip your pelvis over to the left, keep that right shoulder anchored to the mat. Squeezing the ball, you extend the right leg. Keep the right leg straight, come back to the center, and then bend the knee. So let's keep alternating from side to side, breathing out as you rotate, breathe in as you lengthen, breathe out as you come back to the center, breathe in as you bend the knee. If you find it a little bit of a challenge to straighten that top leg, then don't straighten it. Just keep the knees bent, keep squeezing that ball, and keep rolling from side to side. We're going to do just one more to each side. Keeping hold of the ball, I'm just about to lose mine. Going back to the center. That last one to the left, getting that lovely movement, that rotation into the spine, that length down the sides of the body, and then using the strength of the waist to bring you back to the center. So the next one is a double knee fold with a little pelvic tilt. So if you think of that 12 o'clock tilt that you did right at the very beginning, we're going to add that into the movement. When the feet come up into a double knee fold for this exercise, it's a little bit more challenging. So again, if you want to just keep your feet on the floor and do more hip rolls from side to side, that's absolutely fine by me. Legs will come up one at a time if you're coming into the feet up position. Again, you can pop the ball between your knees or a pillow or a cushion. Your knees are right above the hips, so what you want to feel is that you have that space under your lower back, or that natural curve. Your feet will be parallel to the floor, so don't let the feet drop and hang towards the mat, keep them lifted. And we're going to bring the arms again back into that lovely wide V position. Now this time we're going to tilt your pelvis over to the right, keeping that left shoulder heavy. And then once you've tilted over, see if you can tilt your pelvis to the north or to 12 o'clock, almost like you're lifting your bum away from the mat. Release to neutral and then roll back to the middle. Then go over to the left, keeping the right shoulder anchored. See if you can tilt the pelvis towards your face, bringing the legs a little closer. Release to neutral, come back to the center. The breathing for this one is a little different to the one before. So you're going to breathe in to rotate the pelvis. Breathe out to lift the pelvis. Breathe in to release. Breathe out, come back to the center. Breathe in, roll to the left. Breathe out to lift. Breathe in to release. Breathe out to come back to the center. And let's just do one last one in each direction. What you might feel, as well as lots of work into the abdominals and into the obliques, is a really nice little massage for your lower back on the mat. When you've evened up, release the ball, bring your feet down one at a time. You might feel you want a nice big stretch out after that, just to release those tummy muscles that you've been working. And we're going to then roll up into a sitting position. So some of you may want to just simply turn onto your side and push yourself up into sitting. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, let's do a roll up. A little cheat for this exercise, particularly if you have quite a deep lumbar curve where your back is very arched away from the floor, is to place a little cushion or a towel underneath your lower back. And this just helps us to roll through that part of the spine which is very extended. It's not necessary for everyone, but it works really well for some people. And again, the roll-up isn't always possible for everyone simply because of the structure, the shape of our spines. So give it a go. If it doesn't work for you, it's not the end of the world. We'll be finishing in a moment. So I'm going to pop another cushion under my head. I'm going to leave that one under my back just because it feels so nice. I'm going to stretch my legs down the mat, and you can either flex your feet, gluing the legs together, or you can point the feet. Whatever makes your legs feel more active. And then we're going to reach your arms back overhead into ribcage closure position. So already I want you to feel that support, that wrapping and holding from the front. We're going to take a breath in. As you breathe out, we start to lift the arms to the ceiling, nod your chin to your chest, lift your head, roll your shoulders forwards, curl your upper back, mid back, lower back. Come up into sitting, stretch your spine forwards towards your feet, take a big breath in. Breathe out, roll back down again. Feed the tailbone underneath you. Curl your lower back into the mat, the mid back, the upper back, the neck, the head, and the arms come back. So it's a sequential movement again, just like your spine curls. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, lift the arms, nod the chin. Head comes up, roll the shoulders, roll the spine, draw the tummy in, and stretch yourself forwards. Feel that length through the back line of the body, drawing the tummy in again, gently roll yourself back down. We're just going to do one last one. Notice that there's lots of slow control in this exercise. You don't move quickly. The slower you move, the more control you have. When you've done your last stretch forwards, keep yourself sitting up. We're going to finish this particular video, and then we're going to start another one, part 2. See you then.